You're watching DD The Defense Dynamics. I am Danveer from New Delhi, connecting to our viewers from India and around the world. In this episode of Defense Dynamics, we will get to you a perspective on Army Commanders Conference, the first phase of which was recently held at Sikkim. In the regional scan, we will tell you why Pakistan is slipping into a chaos that could be dangerous to the regional security. And likewise, the security concerns are getting bigger and bigger as Bangladesh is unable to check violence against its minorities by radicalized elements. And finally, we'll tell you why the Chinese military is saying that they are prepared for battle and threatening Taiwan. If that happens for real, how will Taiwan fight the defensive battle? In a historic first, the Army Commanders Conference was held at a forward location near Chinese border in Gangtok at Sikkim. A strategic messaging to Beijing. This conference came at a time when China has raised its stakes in the eastern sector of line of actual control, particularly in Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh, by deploying an additional 50,000 soldiers. The Army Chief, General Upendra Dwivedi, who presided over 2 days conference, had earlier sounded a note of caution. He emphasized that trust has become the biggest casualty in India-China relation. He highlighted that situation along the line of actual control remains stable but sensitive, and it is not normal. The first phase of Second Army Commanders Conference for the year 2024 was organized in a hybrid mode at Gangtok in Sikkim. The 2-day conference served as a forum for senior commanders to review current operational preparedness, deliberate upon critical strategies and outline future directives. India's Defence Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh addressed the senior leadership, and he was also briefed by them on the emerging security challenges and the response of the Army in the security domain. During the conference, discussion focused on critical national security issues and strategic aspects aimed at sharpening the Indian Army's war-fighting capabilities. The major issues deliberated during this session included the growing importance of multi-pronged national security strategy that incorporates integration of civil-military fusion and diplomatic, information, military and economic pillars to counter contemporary threats. The Army Chief earlier on 19 September 2024 spoke about the strategic significance of hosting the conference near the China border. General Dwivedi, the Chief of Indian Army Staff, underscored the Army's focus on addressing line of actual control challenges. He said, quote, "The location of the conference itself is a reflection of our intent. We are heavily focused on developing infrastructure along the northern borders, which requires significant attention and efforts," unquote. He also added that after May 2020 incident, his force thought if there was a case of rebalancing. Adding 4 years since then, it has gone through its first phase, while a second phase is required. The Army Commanders Conference, which takes place every 6 months, highlights the Army's ongoing reorientation towards strengthening defense along the line of actual control, underscoring the urgency of infrastructure development in these sensitive regions. The Army commanders at Gangtok reviewed and assessed the overall security situation along the Chinese border and deliberated on operational preparedness and critical strategies during the key conference. India has been pressing China for a step-by-step approach to resolve tensions along the line of actual control, starting with disengagement at 2 remaining standoff points in Depsang and Demchok. It would be followed by de-escalation and eventually the withdrawal of China's 50,000 forward deployed troops. While there has been positive diplomatic signaling in recent political and military meetings, the Indian Army Chief emphasized that successful implementation of any plan will ultimately depend on military commanders on the ground. Meanwhile, the Indian Army is preparing to maintain its troops in forward position for a 5th consecutive winter in the harsh terrain of eastern Ladakh and Arunachal Sikkim sector. To bolster India's strategic position, the Border Roads Organization is working relentlessly to close the significant infrastructure gap with China. Defence Minister of India Mr. Rajnath Singh on October the 12th inaugurated 22 roads, 51 bridges and 2 other projects constructed by the BRO or the Border Road Organization for rupees 2,236 crores. Amongst these projects, 19 are in Jammu and Kashmir, 18 in Arunachal Pradesh, 11 in Ladakh, 9 in Uttarakhand and 6 in Sikkim. Last year, 125 infrastructure projects of Border Roads Organization were dedicated to the nation at a cost of rupees 3,611 crores. The Indian Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi officially launched Agni Astra, a portable multi-target detonation device, during the Army Commanders Conference at Gangtok. This device has been developed by Major Raj Prasad RS from the Indian Army's Corps of Engineers and is seen as a major advancement in both conventional and counter-terrorism operations. This device holds tremendous potential for use in room interventions, remote bunker busting, or hideout destruction, and also in reserve demolitions. The second phase of Army Commanders Conference will be held in New Delhi on 28th and 29th October. The Indian Defence Ministry has stated that second phase of this conference will feature a discussion on evolving geopolitical landscape followed by brainstorming on operational matters. Now moving on to our next story. Parallel to the Army Commanders Conference, in a major development, India's Cabinet Committee on Security on this October the 9th approved 2 high-profile deals. One was for purchase of 31 MQ-9 high-altitude, long-endurance unmanned aerial vehicles from the United States, and 2, the indigenous construction of 2 nuclear attack submarines, or the SSNs. Just within a week of getting a nod, India and US has inked a deal to purchase 31 MQ-9 Sea and Sky Guardian drones. Within a week of approval from Cabinet Committee on Security, India's Ministry of Defence has inked a contract with United States government for tri-service procurement of 31 MQ-9B Sea Guardian high-altitude, long-endurance, remotely piloted aircraft systems. Another contract has been signed with General Atomics Global India Private Limited for performance-based logistics of these remotely piloted aircraft systems through depot-level maintenance, repair and overhaul in India, which could count towards offset obligations. Earlier, in end July, the Defence Acquisition Council, chaired by India's Defence Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh, had approved amendments to the MQ-9 deal related to indigenous content and related aspects. The deal of 31 MQ-9B UAVs, 15 Sea Guardians for the Indian Navy and 16 Sky Guardians, 8 each for the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force, is estimated to cost around $3.99 billion. The Cabinet Committee on Security has given the go-ahead for the construction of 2 nuclear-powered attack submarines that will be designed and constructed indigenously. These are the addition to the Arhant-class nuclear-powered and nuclear-armed submarines that are already in service. As per plans, India will eventually induct 6 nuclear attack submarines, which will be powered by large nuclear reactors that will give them almost unlimited endurance. It will have conventional weapons on board to hunt and target enemy vessels at sea. Now in our regional strategic scan, our first story comes from Pakistan. Pashtun leader Manzoor Pashtun at a Jirga, which is a large tribal meeting that was held in Pakistan's Khyber, Manzoor Pashtun from this Jirga issued a strong warning to Pakistani government and its army. He said, quote, "If Pakistan army enters your home, break their legs, their pants are still in Bangladesh," unquote. Pashtun also refer to Pakistan Army's loss to Mukti Bahini fighters and the Indian Army during 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. So why is this warning so disturbing sign for the region, especially Pakistan? Let's get a sense on that. Pakistan has banned the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement or the PTM, a prominent rights group, listing it as a proscribed organization. A notification issued by the federal government said that PTM was engaged in certain activities which were prejudicial to the peace and security of the country. Pashtuns are a distinct ethnic group with their own Pashto language, living mostly in Pakistan and Afghanistan, but divided by the colonial drawn Durand line that splits the two countries. The movement, founded in 2014, advocates for rights of ethnic Pashtuns affected by Pakistan's war against the Taliban and its local affiliate, Pakistan Taliban, known by the acronym TTP. PTM is known for its strident criticism of Pakistan's powerful military for its role in alleged enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings of right activists and ethnic leaders. PTM, which is not a political party, has at its peak pulled tens of thousands of people to largely peaceful rallies demanding better protection from the state. The movement has drawn support from other Pashtun groups as well as progressive Pakistani activists and politicians. It has become a thorn in the side for the powerful Pakistani army. By calling the army to account and questioning its integrity, PTM effectively undermines the authority of an institution that sees itself as the guardian of the nation. But the army's hostility stems from a deeper fear. The Pashtun nationalism, created in 1947 out of several ethno-linguistic parts of the then British India, has long been wary of strong ethnic loyalties. While PTM has remained peaceful, it is seen by the army as a potential threat to Pakistani sovereignty. As is a violent Baluch insurgency the army has been battling for decades now. Since the early days of the movement, the army has used a variety of tactics to try and shut it down, censoring media coverage of its activities, arresting PTM leaders, and launching disinformation campaign to brand PTM activists as traitors and terrorists supported by India and Afghanistan. But PTM has shown few signs of faltering, combining peaceful protests with legal battles and political activism while resisting the urge to turn violent. However, PTM has created awareness amongst the masses, awakening them to resist the Pakistan army for their rights. With the latest statement from Manzoor Pashtun recalling the defeat of Pakistan army in 1971 and telling the Pathans to break their legs if they enter their homes, a signal to violence and greater turmoil. This has been a significant week in Pakistan. There has been a huge assembly or a jirga of tribal, political, social leaders, men and women of Pashtun, the second largest ethnic group. This was organized by the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement, a group that has struggled for years for the human rights of the Pashtuns. Convening such a massive meeting in the face of opposition of the government in Pakistan is certainly impressive. The assembly made important decisions on the rights of Pashtun in Pakistan and steps needed to achieve them, such as access to region's natural resources and modernization and end to terrorist sanctuaries. They also had sounded advice for Afghanistan, strongly endorsing the rights of girls and women to education. What remains to be seen is the response of Pakistani establishment headed by General Asim Munir, which in all likelihood is likely to be negative. Equally important will be the ability of Jirga organizers to persist despite likely hostile steps against them by the Pakistani authorities and to escalate pressure to make progress towards achieving their goals.
It is too soon to make an affirmative assessment, but given what Manzoor Pashtin's PTM has achieved is just incredible. The PTM-led efforts hold promises for locals, and that has galvanized them in taking up the powerful military establishment of Pakistan. However, greater instability and even conflict cannot be ruled out, affecting the whole of this region. Although PTM embraces peaceful means, it looks like that they are preparing for other options as well. So this was to India's west. Now to India's east. The Bangladesh is still not back on tracks. The minorities continue to be targeted by the radical elements. India on October 12th of 2024 termed the incidents that unfolded in a Durga Puja Pandal in Dhaka and temples in Bangladesh as deplorable, and urged the interim government in Dhaka to ensure safety and security of all religious minorities. While Yunus targets Sheikh Hasina and hints at her extradition from India, the more pressing danger to Bangladesh's political landscape comes from the growing influence of Islamist groups.
Since the ousting of Sheikh Hasina, the interim government of Bangladesh, led by pro-Western Muhammad Yunus and the Army Chief General Waqar Uz-Zaman, has struggled to restore the law and order. This failure has coincided with a troubling rise in Islamist group Jamaat-e-Islami, which has gained ground even at the expense of Khalida Zia's Bangladesh National Party, the BNP. The Jamaat-e-Islami, with its deep ideological ties to Muslim Brotherhood, has formed tactical alliances with ultra-Islamist groups like Hifazat-e-Islam and pro-Islamic State Ansar-ul-Bangla team. This poses a significant threat to Bangladesh's democratic foundations. The intelligence reports suggest that even student leaders are increasingly influenced by these Islamist factions. Despite the presence of the army, reports indicate that neither the military nor Yunus has effectively addressed the violence against Awami League supporters and the minority Hindus. The troops appear reluctant to confront the perpetrators, reducing them to mere bystanders. This rise of Jamaat-e-Islami has caught attention of Indian national security planners, given its implication for regional security. Historically, Jamaat-e-Islami has influenced radical movements in India, including its role in the rise of Simmi and later the Indian Mujahideen, contributing to radicalization of youth in Jammu and Kashmir as well. As the interim government delays elections, the combination of weak administration, increasing radicalization and deteriorating economy spells potential disaster for Dhaka. However, there is a possibility that demoralized Awami League supporters may begin to regroup and challenge both the BNP and the resurgent Jamaat-e-Islami.
The situation is definitely not good for minorities in Bangladesh. However, in an interview with Press Trust of India, Mr. Yunus said that attacks on minority were more political than communal in nature. Either way, the things are serious and concerning with ramification on regional security. Well, moving away from Indian subcontinent to Far East in the Indo-Pacific region as China-Taiwan tensions rise high. The Chinese military has carried out war games by the name Joint Sword 2024B with large number of ships and aircraft threateningly near Taiwan. This comes days after self-ruled democratic island marked its National Day as a warning.
Taiwan has said it was on alert as it had detected a Chinese aircraft carrier group to its south. The Chinese Liaoning aircraft carrier group had entered the Bashi Channel, a waterway that separates the island from Philippines. This aircraft carrier group was predicted to proceed into Western Pacific. However, it appears to be part of Chinese military war games aimed at messaging Taiwan. The United States has warned Beijing against taking any provocative action on the self-ruled island. United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken warned China against taking action in response to a speech by Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te during the island's National Day celebration. The China's new round of war games, dubbed as Joint Sword 2024B, have begun early on 14th of November 2024. They are seen as stern warning to the separatist acts of Taiwan Independence Forces as per Beijing, which claims that this island as their own.
Now, we all know Taiwan is a small island when compared to China, and China is just too powerful. Hence, in that case, one may wonder, how will Taiwan defend itself against the Chinese aggression? To understand this, we should know that Taiwan's military strategy of defending against Chinese aggression hinges on three-pronged strategy: deterrence, resilience, and asymmetric warfare. As the strategic balance in Taiwan Strait remains fragile, however, Taiwan's long-term security will depend not only on its military capabilities but also on broader geopolitical dynamics in the Indo-Pacific region. Having said that, how will this translate on ground?
As tensions in Taiwan Strait persist, Taiwan has developed a robust defense strategy to counter the threat of aggression from People's Republic of China. The military threat posed by PRC is substantial. China has significantly expanded its naval, air, and missile capabilities, building a force specifically geared towards projecting power across the Taiwanese Strait. The Beijing's anti-access area denial or A2AD strategy is aimed at keeping foreign forces, notably the United States, away from theater of conflict. Coupled with its military presence on mainland and the South China Sea, this has created a formidable challenge for Taiwan. Taiwan military recognizes that a direct conflict with China would be highly uneven, given China's larger population, economy, and military budget. The PRC has built massive array of missile forces, including short and medium-range ballistic missiles capable of striking key Taiwanese targets. Moreover, China's navy, particularly its aircraft carrier groups and amphibious capabilities, has undergone significant modernization to potentially carry out a blockade or amphibious invasion. In response to this imbalance, Taiwan has embraced a asymmetric defense strategy focusing on deterring Chinese aggression rather than achieving a traditional military victory. Asymmetric warfare leverages Taiwan's geographic, political, and technological advantage to compensate for its smaller military force. One of the central components of this strategy is the development of anti-access area denial capabilities of its own. Taiwan has invested heavily in coastal defense missile systems, fast attack crafts, mobile artillery systems that can target Chinese naval forces in the strait. This is designed to make any attempt by China to launch an amphibious assault on Taiwan costly and difficult, creating the risk of significant losses to People's Liberation Army. It emphasizes the use of small, mobile, and easily hidden systems like anti-ship missiles, surface-to-air missiles, and drones. Taiwan's geography, with its rugged terrain and urban areas, allow for effective use of guerrilla-style defense tactics, which would make it hard for Chinese forces to gain a foothold in Taiwan's densely populated areas. A crucial element of Taiwan's defense strategy is air and missile defense. China's missile threat is one of Taiwan's greatest concerns, and as a result, Taiwan has prioritized the development of systems designed to intercept ballistic and cruise missiles. Taiwan's indigenous missile systems, such as Skybow series, complement American-supplied systems like the Patriot Advanced Capability PAC-3 missiles. Given Taiwan's reliance on sea lanes for trade and supplies, naval defense plays a crucial role in military strategy. Taiwan has pursued a naval modernization program seeking to enhance submarine and surface fleet capabilities. The island has been developing an indigenous submarine program aiming to deploy new attack submarines to defend its coastal waters from Chinese incursions. The fast missile attack boats and corvettes equipped with anti-ship missiles provide Taiwan with ability to conduct hit-and-run operations against larger Chinese vessels. These smaller, more mobile ships fit into Taiwan's broader asymmetric defense strategy, making it more difficult for China to operate freely in the strait. Additionally, anti-submarine warfare capabilities are critical. Taiwan's fleet include frigates equipped with sonar systems, anti-submarine warfare helicopters to detect and counter Chinese submarines which could be used to enforce a blockade or conduct other offensive operations. Taiwan's military defense strategy cannot be viewed in isolation from its broader geopolitical context. The island's relationship with the United States is a cornerstone of its defense policy. Although the United States does not have a formal defense treaty with Taiwan, the Taiwan Relations Act commits the United States to providing Taiwan with the means to defend itself. Furthermore, Taiwan seeks to strengthen its informal alliances with other regional democratic countries like Japan, Australia, and India, which share concerns about China's military expansionism. Taiwan has also been working to build a culture of civic defense and resilience, recognizing that in event of an invasion, the civilian population would play a critical role in resisting Chinese aggression. Taiwan's reserve forces have been reorganized to ensure that they are capable of supporting a regular military during a prolonged conflict. These forces, combined with civilian resistance efforts, could create a protracted insurgency if China attempted to occupy Taiwan.
With this, we come to the end of this episode of Defense Dynamics. But before I go, here is my take. India-China relations are marked by both cooperation and competition, influenced by historical tensions and geopolitical dynamics. The two nations share a long disputed border, leading to periodic clashes, most notably the 1962 war and the 2020 Galwan Valley incident. Despite these tensions, India and China maintain significant trade ties. With China being one of India's largest trading partner, both the countries are also part of multilateral forums like BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. However, mutual distrust, border issues, and strategic rivalry in Asia continues to challenge the relationship, requiring careful diplomacy to avoid further escalation. When India's defense minister tells the army top brass that he is cautiously optimistic about progress in India-China border standoff, asking them to be ready of contingencies reflects upon tensions and uneasiness in India-China relations. See you next week with new stories and their analysis. Thanks for watching, and do post your comment on social media with #DD with Danvi. Goodbye and take care.